What's going on? On today's podcast, we have Doug Shepard, a legend in the game that's been doing this since the early 80s. It has inspired me every time I talk to him to listen to the stories because there's too many people nowadays that forget about the longevity of this game. If you're a brand new agent, you're going to learn a lot in this podcast. If you've been doing this a long time, you're going to learn a lot in this podcast. Make sure you hit subscribe, comment below, share, and enjoy this episode. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you.
I have always said this behind your back and to your face, and every time you deny it when I say it to you, but Doug Shepard here in the house, he is one of the most people that I look towards more than anything else, and I think that I'm excited to hear what you have to say today because I know how much you've impacted my career in this short amount of time that we've known each other, because I think that it's inspiring to see, and I'm going to pump you up for a minute, to see someone last so long through the ups and downs, through market changes, through technology changes. Like, you guys from like the 90s to now, like, it's so... You guys didn't have the internet when you started, and now you've had to make that transition. So, right, like we said before the podcast, it's like to be super successful, you always have to reinvest yourself, figure out when times are tough. You got to make an adjustment. So, Doug, thank you so much for coming to my show, man. This means a lot to me.
Thank you, and you're welcome, and it's my privilege.
Yeah. So, why don't you tell everyone who you are that don't know who you are?
My name's Doug Shepard. I've been a real estate professional full-time since the day I was licensed in 1983. Obtained a broker's license in 1991. Prior to that, I owned something called Veteran Housing Center from about 87 to 91 out here in Riverside. Very proud of that. We did nothing but help veterans. It was just a pure buyer business. Did very little listing, if any, and it was all buyer business. Different market, and we could talk about how that's changed and why. But did a lot of veteran business, a lot of buyer veteran business. And then around 91, I decided, hey, you know what? Listing is, and we should talk about why this business is so dynamic and such an opportunity for anybody. But I saw quickly that if I wanted to have a better lifestyle and a leveraged time, and I had a young family, I had a couple of young girls, and we were married for, I don't know, what were we were about, I was married in 84, so we were married about 6-7 years. The kids started to come along, and we just had to establish how to run your business differently. So in 91, I sold that business and went to work at a number of other places, learned the listing side of the business, and which primarily for me was farming, and then took that through the career that we have now. And then we started Shepard Realty Group in 95. The Escrow division, or Shepard Realty, or Outlook Escrow, which is an independent escrow company, in 2002 or 3, and grew it. At one point, I was a Coldwell Banker affiliate, and for about 6 years, and then we parted ways. Over those years, we've had 100 sales associates. Well, I started with 2, one actually, and within a week, another person came over, and then we grew it. We grew it through about 100 agents. In the downturn, we whittled that down in size in a lot of ways, in geographic and office space size, and because we saw that it was what was happening and came down. Now we're at about 35 sales associates. I have a full-service escrow company. I'm very involved in the community, very involved in my industry. A guy like me, that I was great at the social aspects of high school, but almost didn't graduate from my grades, but I did. Did a little bit of college. And this industry gave me a great opportunity, and so I give back. So I've been a past president of the Inland Valleys Association of Realtors, served on their board of directors. I'm currently on their board of directors. California Association of Realtors, I'm a director for them. I've been involved in the National Association of Realtors. I've been in the Hispanic Chamber, the Hispanic NAREP, which is, I always forget it, but it's the Hispanic Realtor Association. ARIA, a number of different things. Currently, I serve on the Fair Housing Board for the Riverside County. I serve on a number of other board of directors like Meals on Wheels and things like that. So I'm very grateful, and I would like that to be probably on my tombstone. Yeah, I am grateful for the opportunities that has given me. So if you know Doug, you know two things. One, I'm big on the industry. I'm grateful for the people and the systems that are in place, and it's been very good to my
It is crazy to think, like, now that you mention that, I didn't know that about you leaving high school and barely going to college and all the things. It's like, it is funny about this industry where I feel like I'm the same way, and maybe that's why I drew to this industry. And then, like, that's why I love this career. It's whatever you can make it. Like, you don't have to have that degree from a certain name college. Like, it's just like, if you put the work in and you learn the skills, this job could get you a great life.
Well, that's borne out over and over again. In my case, I was not good at the academics of school because I just didn't sit well.
Yeah.
And so I went right into sales. Even in high school, I played 3 sports. I was great at high school. I just couldn't get the grades because I couldn't sit down. Then I did a little bit of college. I attended bar. I painted. I did all kinds of things. And it was 1978. Carter administration was in. Inflation was rampant. The economy was terrible, and so I waited till '83 to get into real estate, even though I wanted to get in earlier. And the reason was that I chose real estate. You have lots of opportunities. Like people, and if you're showing any kind of initiative, people come to you and say, "Hey, I had a friend that was selling yachts at King Harbor, and he was making money." I had another friend that was going into commercial real estate. And I just felt that, one, I was lit on fire to own my own real estate, my own house. My friends from high school were starting to buy houses, and I was just lit on fire. And I really believed in home ownership, and that core drove me into real estate. But it was really lifestyle and money. You can make money doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
Guys like you and I will always do something. You give me enough Bibles and set me loose in the South. I will support my family selling Bibles door to door, and that's not being derogatory or anything. It's true. I will do that. And then I had a commitment to the family and the things to make it happen. So it hasn't been easy. I mean, you mentioned struggles. I've been bankrupt twice. Mm-hmm. I mean, one of them was my fault. The other one was sort of my fault. And I learned a lot. So the reality is, this industry has given us so much. If you put into it, I will end this little portion here with this. You need to be willing to become what you need to be successful. And I wasn't in the beginning.
Yeah.
Today, people often say to me, "Oh, you're a natural salesman," and or you can speak in public, or you can do these things. Well, yeah, but I've been 15 years in Toastmasters. Yeah, but I've been every seminar. I went to so many seminars the first 3 years of my real estate career that my wife finally said, "Forget it, stop it." I went to a seminar on how to give seminars, and my wife saw the bill when we were struggling, and she said, "Stop it."
Yeah.
So, but you learn, you do, and you have to change enough. You take the core and you change enough. This industry, above a lot, rewards diligence and persistence and hard work.
Yeah.
Not even talent.
None.
Not even,
None.
Not because I didn't have it in the beginning, but it does. Talent helps, but persistence, consistency, and hard work pay all the time.
I think talent's actually kind of a worse thing because too many people are like good. There's a lot of people I've met in this industry that are really good at sales and they're really good at slinging and whatever. But then the moment like it gets hard and they have to make an adjustment, they just don't have the ability. Like they lean on their talent so much that they never took the time to like learn the back end, learn how transaction actually works, learn the industry, because all they did was rely on like their selling ability.
Well, I agree with that 100%. I always say that if you can't teach what you do, then what you do is so unique it's only good for you. I had to learn my skills and plug it in, change myself, but also learn skills. I know people in the industry that are natural, that they can talk to anybody and do it, and I couldn't do that. I mean, the first 60, 90 days, longer than that, first 6 months to a year in this business, I'd go knock on a door and then go to the curb and throw up. I mean, I'd come back. That is no joke. And I had to learn and get over that. And the people that can just do it can't always teach what they do. Yeah. And if you can't teach what you do, then you don't have a grasp on the fundamentals. Mm-hmm. And so I admire those people that can do that and make a living. But I really am fans of people that know the skills, and there's no way around it. We sell, we cajole, we are psychologists. There's a lot of things. There's transactional, there's paperwork, but at the core of it, it is certain set of skills, how to stay persistent in a hard time.
Yeah.
how to stay. That's a skill. That's
The
just
skill
not
is showing up when you get punched in the face.
right. Exactly. Or even, persistence is more about the deciding to be persistent, and then setting systems in place to keep you persistent. I walked in here today, and you're in there labeling mail outs, and I'm going, you know what? Last Friday, I did that for an hour myself.
Yeah.
I'm 61 years old. I got 30 sales results. I'm doing this. I make a very good living, but that kept me. Obviously, my assistant was off over the last holiday. But I'm saying that persistence is a skill, is a systems skill, and it's just not grunt it out.
Yeah. Well, then too is like do that every time I list a property and never get a call off one for the last 6 months, but still coming in here and doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think that's the thing that people don't get. We try a lot of stuff that don't work, but the few things that do, we do really well. There's a lot of stuff that do not work. Like I went back and looked at a postcard I sent out when I first started, and I'm like, I don't know why no one called me on this thing. This thing's ugly. Why would anyone have called me on this thing? It was terrible. But you have to try and make adjustments and get better and make things. Something you said that I thought was very interesting, how you had to like learn how to sell. Do you feel like because of your ability that you didn't do college, did you feel like it helped you kind of knowing like this is what I got to do, and that's what made you go knock on doors and throw up, and it makes, because it was like, well, what else do I have? You know what I mean? Like what else? I have a wife and kids, and like I know I have to do this, no other choice.
Yes, burning bridges is a good thing, However, I had options. One thing that is important is self-evaluation. Even as a young man, I self-evaluated. I said, look, this is what I do. Look, I'll tell you a story. This will tell you something about me. I went to an all-boys Catholic high school, and I was a young man, and puberty hit me pretty hard, and I was 14, 15 years old, and I wasn't meeting girls. So on my 16th birthday, first thing I did was get my driver's license, borrowed Dad's car, and I drove down to the mall, the Del Amo Mall in Torrance, California. It's Fashion Square, not some huge thing now. But back then, and I knocked on every door that I thought had girls that worked there, and that basically was a sales job that had girls that worked there. Mm-hmm. So Miller's Outpost hired me, and for the first 2 weeks, they put you in, like Walmart does, they put you in front as a greeter. But they also had girls, and I had to learn how to talk to girls because I was really shy. Mm-hmm. And but what is your motivation? It's always more important than what your qualifications are. Yeah. So I learned to do that, and I learned. So if you evaluate where you are and take a little chance and go out and put yourself out there, it's real for me. It's not just a platitude. You go out and do it. So when I got into real estate, I knew two things. I said, you do it till it's second nature. You do it, valuable things that do work. And how do you know that? You look to people. Betty Keys in my real estate office. She was a very petite Asian woman who had broken English, and she owned a certain section of Lawndale as a realtor. And how she did it was knock and walk, knock and walk. And I learned a lesson from her. I knocked doors for about 6 months. I go, Betty, this just isn't working for me. And she goes, oh, how long have you been doing it? Bad. I'm sorry for my bad Asian accent, but that's how she talks. She says, oh, how long have you been doing it? 6 months. She goes, I've been doing this 5 years. I've been doing this forever. And she says, I get turned down all the time. So those were the lessons I learned, that you just do it until it pays off. So to your point, do we do things? I will say one thing about that point that you made, though. You may be doing the right thing at the wrong time. Yeah. I've done many things that worked and then stopped working. And then I've done things that didn't work and then all of a sudden started working. Mm-hmm. And you don't know why that is, but you need to do a multitude of things all at once to make things happen if you want to expand beyond where you're at.
Yeah. I think it's funny, like you were talking about like knocking on doors. Like I've always shouted that I've never done that or don't do it because it's the scariest thing in the world for me. Yeah. Like I always I'm like, thank God I came up in this game like with video and this stuff.
Technology. Yeah.
Technology. Like, because if it wasn't for video, I don't know if I would have made it or still be around, because the fear of knocking on someone's door is so massive for me, or randomly calling people.
Yeah, calling. Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't do it. And I've like tried to sit there, and I remember the hard part that people don't get with our jobs is like you have to like commit to something, and then when it's not working, like still commit to it. Because I've sat in this office many times with no escrows going like, is this social media thing the deal? Like, should I still be doing this? Adam, you just need to start calling. You need to start and I just sit there and I wouldn't be able to do it. I'm like, I can't get a list and call people. Like, I don't know what to say. But then, and then all of a sudden, like 2 days later, something happens on Facebook, right. And they're like, hey, come over and list our house. You're like, okay, like they're doubts of mine. How do you handle that? Obviously, you've had your own company, an escrow, bankruptcy twice, the bad economy, all this stuff. Like, what tips have you given yourself over the years to stay mentally strong? Because I think that is the biggest failure for a lot of people, and especially people in our industry. They let the two things between their ears drive them from not doing it. How have you been able to get through those tough things?
Well, one experience, getting through a tough thing and knowing that you survived it is a big deal. I mean, when I got into the business in '83, interest rates were 18%, and I sold 3 or 4 houses the first year. Now, by today's standards, that's nothing. I'd be a vast failure. But if you can sell a house at 18.5% interest rates with a first and a second and the seller carrying back, and then you go paint the garage door just to get it done. Yeah. I mean, I knew I could do it. So I said, this can't be this way, or the industry wouldn't exist. And then I had some mentors that I saw people doing things, and they were doing different things. I remember a guy named Kirby in my office started building some houses. He was augmenting his business. And then there was another guy that was, he had an industry-related another business. So, I saw that you have to, that perseverance is born out of the knowledge that this too shall pass. And it sounds, I don't want to speak in cliches today because nobody needs that anymore. I saw some video the other day and some guy was pouting, yeah, we got to do that. I'm going, but the reality of it is, for me, is that you have to, I don't even say you, I had to understand that, one, the industry was viable, that other people were doing it, and if I could emulate the good, I too could get there. I had confidence only in myself. I think self-confidence is a lie. I do. I don't know that self-confidence. I've seen very much self-confident people, but for me, I didn't have self-confidence. I had self-confidence in systems, in perseverance. You know what I'm saying? That's not. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
It was more, it can be done, and it has been done. So I see that. Now, when you get into other things, my first bankruptcy was really a stupid downturn. People forget the downturn in the early '90s that happened here.
Right? 91,
yeah, when the peace when they downsized March Air Force Base, 5,000 jobs overnight, houses all over the place, and I just transitioned from selling my buyer's side to my listing side, and I learned short sales very quickly. But the point is that I saw people doing it. I go, oh, what are they doing? What are they? There's some people in town that I just emulated, and not that I compared myself to them or competed with them. I set my own goals, but I said that can be done. It can be done. The second guy that climbed Mount Everest, that could be done.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mind being the second guy. I made more money in my career, in the first 3 years of my career, coming second to a guy named Robert Williams. I later learned that I actually made a lot more money than he did because of the way he did his business.
Yeah.
But coming in second. So I just say, can it be done? That's how you get over it. What's happening out there? Is this the end of the world? No, it's never the end of the world. It's never the end of your thing. And then finally, I would say that I made a commitment to people around me, and I just kept.
Yeah, it is funny. It's something you've always mentioned to me that, everything, even in the downturns, whatever, none of your staff ever miss a paycheck. And that's something that people don't realize. Like, when you have a team and they rely on you to pay their bills, I don't know, man. I think it does make you work harder.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, when it keeps the fire under you.
Well, it keeps you up at night. It keeps does. You. But one of those bankruptcies was simply that. I did declare bankruptcy the second time so that I could keep it on. I could have closed both businesses and started over. People did it. Yeah. And I said, no, I have a whole team here, and we will get past this. So I came out of pocket a lot for the escrow company. I had great people, and I kept them on. Staff on my real estate side. We downsized a lot. They put up with a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I went from 10,000 square feet to 1,200 square feet, which, by the way, was a precursor to teaching me that you don't need that space.
No.
Mm-mm. And it was early on. 5 years earlier, you needed it. But anyways, that's...
Well, it's crazy. I still think it's hilarious how agents are like, oh, I want my own office. Why? You're never there anyways.
Well,
and they're always sitting vacant. I don't know why you think.
Well, I get it. And I don't want to really get into the motivations of basic agents. But the reality is that I did keep it going at a great expense because I knew on the other end, if you survive and you're positioned with the systems and the staffing, boom.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Exactly what happened.
Well, so then obviously you're at now and you're so involved. I got a quick question for you, and maybe we've ever talked about this. Right now, I think the stat is that there's more real estate agents than active listings in the United States. Do you feel like, as someone that's so involved and been on boards and in the committees and all that, do you feel like we need to raise the standards of being a real estate agent? Or what it takes, I don't know about entry, but like to maintain and stay as an agent? To raise the bar?
Yes, I absolutely do. Yeah. And most of the leadership at national and state do too. We focus a lot on ethics. As you know, now we're taking ethics classes, and that's maintaining a standard of practice, not necessarily performance. I've argued for a long time that supervision, as a broker, I mean, I see a lot of people sitting in a room and goes, oh, those agents. And I go, but they're your agents.
Yeah.
And I think brokers need more supervision. I really like that they made managers accountable to it because they weren't. Last year I had a situation where the agent was not acting ethically, I thought. Certainly not through the code or through the MLS rules. And his manager started attacking me, and I'm going, dude, you're the problem. I said, sir, your culture is the problem. So I do believe that. I believe that we need to focus on, and the business model is viable, and I have no problem with the Zillows of the world, or the Redfins, or the Keller Williams, or even the EXPs of the world that create these things that are so removed from their agents. But I think they need to be held accountable for that actions of those agents. And I call out those particular things because I have no problem with them. I've looked at all the models, and they're great and they're successful. But when you remove the broker or the daily supervision from a sales associate, you're about to create problems. We focus a lot, and I'll finish with this. We focus a lot on creating rules and systems that really only target a small group of bad actors. There's 200,000 realtors in California. There's almost 400,000 licensees. 200,000 realtors, and we only have really oversight or way to recourse through the ethics and MLS rules on those 200,000. But of those 200,000, you know that 60% of all of the MLS participants that pay their dues every quarter do no transactions at all.
Yeah.
So there's 40%. Then from them, the average in California is 5 transactions a year. Now, does that make you a full-time professional doing 6 a year? I don't know. Part of that is the average sale price. Part of that is the way the business is split now, where agents make more than their brokers by far. So we need to focus on management, brokerage oversight, and on the fact that that we have a population of licensees, even realtors, that are not daily engaged in the business, and therefore when it comes to doing something, they are less than proficient.
Yeah, I think
that's a problem.
The problem, I think, is like, you're just, if you're not doing it every day, you just don't know, like, when forms are changing or how quickly things are needed to be done, and then it's just like you feel bad for their clients because then they get put in these positions. You're just like, I think in the last year I've had 5 people remove all contingencies, and like luckily, and we could have easily taken EMDs. I mean, like, and we're not talking about high-end clients. We're talking about maybe all the money they have or half of it. You know what I mean? And it's just like, how do you allow this to happen? And they're just very fortunate that the bad thing didn't happen. You know what I mean?
Well, that's true, and I see that all the time. And fortunately, there's nothing wrong with that with an informed clientele.
I agree.
The biggest problem, I make 3 promises to all of my clients. 1, I'll tell you the truth even if it's unpleasant. We will communicate when any form you want as often as you want. Used to be that I'd say, oh, we communicate by phone, but now people want to text, email, Instagram. I mean, I have a customer that all we do is Facebook Messenger.
I've had deals all Facebook Messenger.
And look at me. I mean, I didn't know what Facebook was. So the reality is that it's all about communication. If they're informed, then that's okay. The problem is that many of their agents aren't informed on what they're actually.
They don't even know what they're doing.
What they're asking them to do.
Yeah.
There is other issues too. I mean, there's language problems. There are people in this industry that pass the test that are not proficient in the English language, and I've seen their offers written in such manners that were a problem. But those are not the real issues. There are people in the industry that do not follow the rules of ethics, and they don't put the public, their customer, and the other agent on the right level, and they must do that. And those are that's the code of ethics. It's about our duty to the client, then it's our duty to the public, then it's our duty to other real estate agents. And I find that most of our problems is the way we treat each other.
Oh, 100%.
The way we treat each other.
I think that's the other thing too, is it's like the way, it's so funny when you see someone post something on Facebook or whatever about Zillow, and there's a million comments and they're all pissed off, or Redfin or whatever. But you're like, but you can't even communicate me in a transaction. I can't even get a showing set up on your house. And you're worried about Zillow? Why don't you?
Well, the priorities are all wrong, and those scare people unless you know the reality. Look, I have the long-term perspective. I remember when Coldwell Banker was in every Sears. Coldwell Banker was owned by Sears along with Merrill Lynch. Do you remember that?
That was before my
You
time.
could walk into a Sears and go over to a Coldwell Banker office. I remember when everybody said, Bank of America and Wells Fargo are going to get licensed, and they're going to take over, and we're going to just push everybody out. And I go, none of that happened. One of it is that the California Association, National Associations lobbied and made sure that the banking industry did not get into real estate because it's a clear conflict of interest between the Senate. But so I remember these things. I remember when Help You Sell came in, and I remember sitting in a room, and they said, "Okay, you guys let's go research them and see what they're doing because they're gonna do it." And I go, you know what? It's not happening.
Well, it's just like Purple Brick.
Purple Brick
came in so hot, everyone was worried about them, and now they're gone already.
Do you know why they're not here in the United States?
No.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
no, that's fine.
Most people have the wrong impression. The real estate industry is made of entrepreneurs and pretty smart people. And the most beautiful tool that we have is the exclusive right listing. That means that if you're a listing agent, you can get an agreement, a legal binding employment agreement with a seller that says, whoever sells this, I'm getting paid. So you can go list it on a Thursday, and forgive me, but you could go to Cabo on Friday, come back on Tuesday, and 3 offers in there. Now, that's an exaggeration, but you could do that. And that's called leverage. And people don't get that when you're a buyer's side company like Help You Sell, like Purple Bricks, is that the best agents don't want to work for you.
Yeah.
Because I was a buyer's agent for 4 or 5 years, exclusively VA, and it's a young person's job because you're in your car. Well, now you don't even meet people. It's different. But back then, you get in a car and you drive around, and it was time consuming. And I was doing 5-6 transactions a month, but it was brutal. And when my kids started to get older and stuff, I said, there's a better way. And it's the leverage of the listing. So Purple Bricks and Help You Sell why, if price was the only issue for a seller, why isn't Help You Sell the biggest company in the world? Why didn't Purple Bricks just take off?
I agree.
They worked in Europe and in Great Britain because there's a different system. But here we are totally entrepreneurial. The DRE looks at us as independent contractors and as small businesses. The Franchise Tax Board taxes us as if we are those things, and we don't conduct ourselves that way enough. But the smart ones, you get it.
Yeah.
I get it. And I try to implement this in our business and with my sales associates, that the exclusive right listing is the reason this industry is so lucrative. The exclusive right listing. And the other reason is, forgive me if I'm rambling on about this, but I think you'll find this interesting.
So you rambling makes my job a lot easier.
Okay. So I've been around a long time, and I have some issues. One of the things that people don't get about this is that the leverage of the listing. That is the most in states that you cannot double end things. It's not. We are blessed in California and other places because with an exclusive right listing, you can list it on Thursday. You can hold an open house on Saturday if you choose to or whatever. You get a call through the podcast. You sell it, and then you sell that seller a house, and maybe you sell that buyer's house to get that house. There's 4 transactions. That's called leverage. Yeah. That's what this system is about, and it is strong. Currently, the other thing that people don't get is that commissions are set for mediocrity.
Yep.
Mediocrity. It means that the average agent can make an average living doing an average effort. And that's all industries. If you're selling furniture for a big corporation or you're selling timeshare, they pay you enough to keep you there. But the guys like you and like me that figure it out and do more, maybe we charge less. I don't have a problem with reduced commission people. If that's how their model's set up, I don't necessarily do that. But the reality is I have ways to show my value. Mm-hmm. So back to the Zillow and the Purple Bricks. Look, they're going to take 10, 15, maybe 20% of the business, but that's 80% left for you and I. Because why? Because the sellers, the homeowners need it. And if I have to, I know that what the average brokerage fee is in the area here, I can make a very good living with the average sale price. Mm-hmm. With an average sale price of over $450,000 in Moreno Valley, over $550,000 in Riverside, you can make a very good living on a very average thing. But if you're only going to do it 5 a year, that's a hell of a part-time job.
Yeah.
But if you want to do 25 or 30 a year, that is 1% money.
Yeah.
And that is what this business is about. So when you talk about the fear of these other places, as long as we add value, as long as we keep telling people or showing people or demonstrating that we can get you more money, or even more important, the National Association of Realtors does surveys. People want convenience, and which is what the iBuyers use. Mm-hmm. The offer ups. They say, oh, it's convenient, but what they really want is somebody to do it for them.
Yeah.
I always tell people, you have a life, I let you live it.
Yeah.
Go do your thing, and I'll bring you the offers. And as long as we add that value enough, we can win.
Yeah.
And the truth is, when I was doing a lot of business as a farmer in the Orange Crest area of Riverside, people said, you own that area, you own it. I was doing 35 transactions a year. They were selling, at the time, there was 350 transactions going on there. So do the math. That was 10%. That means Doug was hitting, I wouldn't even be in the major leagues.
Yeah.
I was hitting what? 10%? What is that? It's not even
100%.
Yeah, I couldn't even get a contract on a small, on a
you wouldn't even be at the local beer league.
No, I wouldn't even be at the local beer league. But I made a very good living. That means I didn't get 9 out of 10 of those listings. Mm-hmm. But so average sale price helps you with your with the commission rates, and then just knowing the leverage, and then just understanding that if you can take a small part of a big market, you're going to do very, very well. And that's the key to this industry.
But I think it's so funny is like you mentioned about doing 30 deals a year, making 1% money, but it's like I don't think people realize everything that comes to doing 30 deals, you deserve 1% money. And that's what I don't get. That's what people do not understand. It is not even if you sell a house and you thought it was the easiest transaction ever, like you were the homeowner, it's like I had to find a way to get you to hire me. I had to find to get in front of you. And then we determine our price before the transaction happens.
Yeah.
And we don't get paid until it closes. I had 3 deals this week, listings cancel on me.
Yeah.
I make $0.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like I'm taking the risk to put your house on the market and it might not sell. So you have to take the risk to pay me when it does sell. Like, you know what I mean? Our services are free until we close.
Well, that's absolutely true. We do take, as a small business person, we turn the key in our door every morning, so to speak, whether you're actually an agent or not. And what you do, you don't own the inventory that you're selling. You are only selling one thing, and that is your service. And that service is to add value to a sales transaction in whatever form that is. If it's a discounting and it's a market like this where you think you can get away with, lesser services. But when you make that commitment as a small business, you take on that risk. But that's what we're rewarded for.
Yeah.
And the truth is that, we do make the money. It's sometimes baffling. Look, I mean, I started in 1983, and my
Yeah.
average check was $700.
Yeah.
And now sometimes I look at myself and I go, I don't know, $40,000 check. I mean,
Yeah.
what the? I mean, I never did the $1 million stuff. I always did the mid-range because I just thought it was more consistent.
I like
pristine.
mid-range.
Yeah, and the people are different, and not that they're bad or either way. Now, suddenly we're all thrust into this $1 million market because the houses that were 500 are now 1 million. But
Yeah.
but the reality is that on a day-to-day basis, what we do is run a business, which, by the way, is subject to all kinds of outside influences, from government to just traditional market to somebody else doing something, to new people coming in and what they call disruptors and all of that. I've always been bullish on this. And people tell me all the time, oh, everything's going this way. We're all going to work for these people, or people like the Zillows of the world are going to take over. And I go, not really, because they fill a need, and that's a 10 to 15% of the market need. But our real need, the need you and I fill, is that people don't know what you do when you're doing it. We're the ducks, we're the feet under the water. We are the constantly moving forward people. And as you said, you alluded to, if they think it's so easy, then they say that, then you're doing a fantastic job, right? So I'm just gratified that the industry as a whole, from an individual point of view, is still the same, in that it rewards what we said in the very beginning: consistency, persistence, hard work, good systems with some ethics. Yeah. Because it doesn't reward, it rewards in the short term poor actors, and it does not. But in the long term, it does.
Yeah, I think that's the thing too, is like there's a lot of people that will have a good 6 months, a good year, a good maybe 18 months. But sooner or later, you can always figure out how they run and how they treat people. When they run out in 18 months, they're gone.
Right.
They get real hot for a little bit. Maybe they have a great sphere of influence, and then they go bang, 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 and then all of a sudden it's like, what happened to that person?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's what the commitment is to the industry. And I made a commitment to the industry and to give back, but I also made a commitment that, even when it was hard in the beginning, and it was tough, I pivoted. I was doing traditional, I was knocking doors, and then I found a company that just did buyer business, but there was veteran, and I really believed in that. I believed in home ownership. So you get involved in something you believe in, that you can stick with the long run. I know that everybody this is really true, and it sounds, but anybody that gets in it just for money, is not going to be there, because it changes, or they're not happy at the end. I have guys tell me, I've had people tell me, if I'm still in it at your age, and I'm going, yeah, I had that attitude too, but you know what? At my age, I'm pretty happy doing what I'm doing. I don't have to. I could do a lot of things. At the end of the day, what we want to do is promote the industry by being a good example. Yeah. And success with ethics is a great way to maintain and to keep the people that want to regulate us out of business away from the door.
Yeah. So you've been in this transition of technology. What was for you compared to before the internet with MLS books and all that kind of stuff to now? Which industry did you like working more? Like, did you like it better now?
Oh, no, absolutely now.
Now?
Oh, my God. Yeah. Are you kidding me? Here, the first real estate office I worked in, which was, and they were progressive, they were out there, they were doing it, but didn't have a fax machine. Fax machines were new, so wrap your head around that. I mean, and then you had to put the little purple paper in it. It was a nightmare. And then the MLS books. The MLS books used to be delivered, and we'd all go get our book and come back and look up the expireds in the back and that, because that's what happened. I mean, it wasn't online. But I remember having a pager. I just tell you these war stories to set the stage of why I think now is better. The pager, you'd have a pager, but it didn't page you with a message. It paged you with a phone number. That was the phone number of who you called to get your message. And so I remember driving down Hawthorne Boulevard and getting a page and then another page and pulling over and putting a quarter or a dime or whatever the heck it was in a real phone booth. Now, people under 15 or 20 maybe they watch Doctor Who, I don't know, but that's the old phone booth. And so it was just cumbersome. People, the way you were at the mercy also of some limited marketing tools. You could do mail outs. But, the newspaper and the print advertising, and they owned you. And whatever they wanted to charge you, and there's none. Today, between communication, earlier we talked about it, I can talk to somebody on a phone. I was recently in Cabo and took 2 listings. So the reality, I didn't do the presentation and everything, but I consummated it on that. I finished it. On a cell phone, one was I text, or we can Instagram. All of those things are so freeing. If you ask me or someone like me, what is it? Not just the money. I mean, surgeons make great money.
Yeah.
Do you want to be a surgeon?
No.
Do you know how often you have to go? To be a surgeon, you have to go in and perform surgery, right? Yourself.
Yeah.
You can't say, okay, here's a contract. George, will you go do mine for me?
Yeah.
No, you don't. The reality is that it's lifestyle. So it leverages my time. Technology is so beautiful. What you're doing here is so much leverage. This is so intimate compared to the things I had to do.
Yeah.
And knocking on doors was hit and miss. It wasn't leveraged.
Yeah.
This is leverage, Adam, and this is so freeing and so more customer friendly in the way they want to be. You have little old ladies I have guys that only want to be called on the phone.
Yeah.
I have a guy right now selling $1 million house, and he will not text, he will not email, he will not do anything. I have to go over and get things signed.
Yeah.
Well, God bless him. That's what he wants to do. I'm all for it. But then I have the attorney that says, never call me. I'm always in court. Text me. So we text, close deals. I closed a transaction in Japan 3 years ago. Never met any of the principals. Saw the house once. Because I did my thing. I'm legit. But this technology. So to answer your question, yes, now is better. The 21st century is better than the 18th century. I just can't express enough. And what we have to understand for new people coming in is the embrace of that technology. Don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
But also remember that not everybody is in your same technology sphere. So one of my issues when I was very young, I started at 22, 23 years old, is that I really respect elderly people because of who they were at the time. And I had a real, this guy's 50 and he's got a job. And he's in World War II, or he's a Vietnam vet. And I was really respectful. And I had a hard time communicating. So as I grew, I had to learn how to do a wide range of customers, from the first-time buyer to the guy who was selling the Malibu beach house or the Manhattan beach house at the time. And what I'm trying to say is that today, use that technology, but communicate the way they want to, not the way you want to communicate. It's like when we get these agents and they say, only text.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I get it. I'm going to text the way you want to text. Yeah. Great. But you better respond to me if I'm playing by your rules. And it's just about technology is a way to communicate better, and communication is what we do. It is what we do. Everything else is just systems and is just systems and paperwork. Communication, how we communicate, how we present is very important. And if you don't learn how to present by text, you're probably not going to.
Yeah, I'm a terrible texter. I'm 33 and I hate texting.
Everybody hates text. I don't want to text. I can't even
texting.
spell, and then my spell check changes things.
Yeah, but
then I got to correct
it. There's no tone, right? Like there's no tone. I can't. It's not my tone that I can't, but I can't feel their tone.
Right.
That's the one thing.
Right. I remember early on my cap lock got stuck.
Oh.
And it was all caps, and he goes, "Why are you yelling at me?" And I go,
"It's broken. Yeah.
I'm not yelling at you." Yeah. But you have to learn that. So if you're not taking that technology as somebody that's grown up through the technology. If you're not using it the way the customer wants you to use it, then it's just you're limiting yourself.
Yeah. So I know you are really big about training. You love training agents. So what is it about that you love to do, and why do you think you love to do it? Because I can't handle agents from 0 to 12 deals. Like that's not like, you're great at like teaching. I'm great at like exploding from 12 to 24. Like I've come to terms in my office, I can't have a 0 agent.
Okay.
So what is it about you that has attracted yourself to brand new agents?
That's a great question. I don't really know, other than And it's frustrating. I will tell you this. It is frustrating because I hire a lot of first-time green people. Mm-hmm. I take on projects that I probably shouldn't. Mm-hmm. People that say, I didn't do this for 2 years, but now I'm going to do it. And I try to do it. So training comes in many focuses. There's one-on-one training. There's institutional training, which is office, and you do that. One-on-one training, institutional training. There's what I call just-in-time training, which is what I really do most. The reason why I was slightly delayed getting here today is I was on the phone with two of my agents. One was calling me about how to put together a multiple counteroffer, and the other one was trying to figure out how to get somebody to a notice to perform. And so I get gratification out of helping them do that. All I can really tell you is it fits my personality.
Yeah.
You know, it's why I'm in the business. It's why when I ran for office that one time, people say, "Hey, how'd you like that?" I go, "Oh, it was just another day at the office for me." You know, you knock doors, you call people. So it fit my personality, and I do want to give back. I mean, I don't want to sound, too much, but I do want to give back some. It can be really frustrating. I get your frustration.
Yeah.
You throw all this at people, and look, I am responsible for about 3 or 4 real estate brokerages in town here because I've trained people and they've gone off and done their own thing. But you have to remember that I also left 3 or 4 real estate offices to go start my own thing. So give back, fits my personality, and it's gratifying to see people go out and do some business.
Well, I think it's funny. I actually met with a guy the other day, brand new agent. He's like, "Well, what brokerage?" And I really looked at him. I said, "You will go to 5 to 7 to maybe if you do this for the rest of your life, you're gonna switch brokerages until you open your own."
Yeah.
Because it's like each brokerage just puts you into a position for when you need there. Like I laugh at some agents that are like, "Oh, I'm super happy where I'm at and I'm never leaving this and the other." And it's like, "Okay, that's cool." I go, "But you're doing like 7 deals a year. And you've been doing that for like 3-4 years now." So it's like, unless you just want to do 7 deals, that's fine. But it's
that's fine. Yeah.
That's fine. But does not say you're going to do 30 all of a sudden when you're only doing 7.
Well, it is true that, like if you and I moved to Florida tomorrow, the only problem with that is that we'd be taking ourselves to Florida with the same thing and the same. So if we were successful here or there, but if you're failing here, you're failing there. You better have a better system. So what are you going to plug yourself into? I know that when I left certain offices to go to one place, I left 100% office to go to a 50% split because they were offering me leads, different type of leads than they offer today.
Yeah.
So I made those decisions. Was that a great decision? Well, it led into management. I did some other stuff. But the reality is that self-evaluation is everything. Tell the truth to yourself about yourself. Look at yourself and say, if I take my current skills and plug it into this, is it going to be any different? Look, if you can't talk on, if you're not being able to close people on the phone and somebody's offering you leads, what the heck is that going to do for you? Learn the skill first and then pay for your own leads. Why, so I just don't get that. Because self-evaluation is everything. And so you have to make that decision. Good businesses do it, good leaders do it. But businesses themselves, they run self-diagnostics. They look at it. They say, what's wrong with us? Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't you take a survey? Well, you should do that as your own business. What's wrong with me? I used to do it. I used to walk out of every listing presentation, whether I got it or not, and run through my listing presentation back in the car by myself and say, what did I do? Or he said that, and I went, I didn't like my answer. You do that enough, then you'll learn something. If you think you're going to go to a new system and bring yourself to that system, you better be able to learn. And I'll tell you a prime example of that out of my life. I was at Triangle Real Estate, which became ERA Triangle. It was on the corner of Hawthorne Boulevard and Torrance Boulevard in Hot Torrance, California. Tom and Roberta Morgan owned it. They were great. This is where I learned a lot of things. This is where I met Betty Keys. We knocked on doors. I learned what that business was about, but it was struggling. And then I bumped into a guy, and he was at Veteran Housing Center. And all they did was help vets. So there was about 35 offices. And I said, wow, that's great, and I really want to help buyers. And he said, look, I'm doing about 5 deals a month. Well, I hadn't done 5 deals the last year. And I said, okay, I came over there. But I got over there, and I realized, wow, you better have something more for me than, don't tell me that you're just saying, here's some veteran buyers. Don't give me leads. Tell me what to do with them. Well, frankly, that company did. They had videos. I watched a series of 6 videos 6 times. I watched 36 videos on their system, on what we called the board talk, on how to help a veteran. And these guys had it down. And then when I came out, I did exactly what they said they would. And I'll tell the story. I always tell the story of Art and Norma. The first day at Veteran Housing Center that I was allowed to get on, I got a call. Art and Norma said, hey, we're living in Downey. I was in Hawthorne. They're living in Downey. And they want to come in, veteran. I said, okay, you got to bring your DD-214, your tax returns, a list of bills, and your W-2s. So they drove from Downey out here, and the guy didn't have his tax returns. Now, I was first guy, and I'm going, oh, well, I could have just said, let's go over. But Andy Ryan, God bless him, said, don't do it. don't break your rules. If they come in and they don't have everything, they don't have the Semper Fi T-shirt and the diaper bag and the kids in tow and this. If they're not showing motivation, don't do it. So I didn't know if I was going to be in the business the next month because I'd just come off of 5 and all these other guys were doing more. And I go, Art, Norma, I'm sorry, you got to go. Now, what they didn't know is they drove by 2 veteran housing offices to get to my office from Downey. Well, what they did is go back and get it and come back and get that and take those things and bring in the items that were necessary for us to do our purposes. So what I'm trying to say is I bought into a system, but I made myself the poster boy of that system. I was veteran housing, so I was bleeding that. And then when I always do that. When I was in the Coldwell Banker system, I bled blue. I once put a bunch of blue Kool-Aid on a table and said, anybody who's not drinking the blue Kool-Aid can leave now.
Yeah.
Because why be involved in something? So when you ask about what new people or making changes or moving, you better have a reason, but you better be able to make those changes. So if you're not willing to become more than you are, you're never going to get more than you have or more you do. And I just tell Art and Norma's story over and over again because the reality is that it changed my life. When I decided I was going to do business in the right way for the right reasons and that there would be someone else coming. If Art didn't buy, there'd be another veteran come through the abundance. So when you asked earlier about it, abundance is a belief. It's not self-confidence. It's a belief in a system or a set of principles that if you do them, it's just like today in America. If you finish high school and get married before you have children, and you will rise to the middle class if you play by the certain playbook. In real estate, if you stay persistent, you play by certain rules, but you persistently and consistently do the systems that work, and they can be fundamental systems, whether it's video or it's calling or it's door knock, whatever that is, and you do that, you will succeed to the level you want to succeed. At some point, you may now I haven't knocked a door, well, since 2016, since I was running for office, but before that, I've knocked a door in a long time because I got to a certain point, and then I just said, okay. You either spend your time or your dime. And I started to spend more dime than time. And that's another leverage. But that dime is a financial fortitude that you have to have to make an investment if you don't want to put your time in. Now, I when I was broke, I knocked doors because that's what I had. But when I banked a little money and started doing the mail-outs, and now you've invested in a complete system here, which is very impressive. And all I can say is, that commitment, that dime replaces the time, which gives you the lifestyle, which is what you really want out of real estate. It's the lifestyle.
It's the lifestyle. I think that's the thing that people don't get is it's hilarious, but every agent that struggles, the one thing I think they never do is self-evaluation, and they don't ever commit. Whatever you're committing to. You know what I mean? It's I love when people, want to talk about video, and it's you've been going back to it's funny, it doesn't matter how many years have gone by, you not telling that lady, hey, I've been knocking for 6 months, why does it not work? She's I've been doing it for 5 years, and it's hard. And it's the same thing in my space now with the newer agents, because everyone wants to do social media, and they go, how does this work? I'm I've been doing it for 6 years. Every day, I invest in a videographer, and I invest in
a commitment.
I have committed to this, and that's what it is. You have to fully commit.
Yeah, it's true. And there's many models.
100%. There's so many ways to be successful in this industry.
I would emulate those that are being successful and then make it your own. But there are many ways to do it. There's something going to be invented. I mean, Zillow will be on the hash beef of history
100%.
in 15 years. Something will come along. As big as Amazon is, something will come. It will be different. It will transition. But you have to be able to adapt. But at the end of the day, there's many models. But commitment to it, and then evaluating constantly to tweak that in a manner that will allow you to move with the market and whatever else happens, regulation, whatever.
Yeah. Do you think that agents nowadays, because there's so much ways to communicate with the world of branding and stuff, that they are too independent, where they're so anti working for someone, or it has to be about me. I don't want to be in someone's shadow, and that makes them flaw. That it's like going back, they don't drink the Kool-Aid enough for where they work at.
Is it too much that way? Look, this business has always been about the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
This business is always, if you went into this business, you were working for yourself.
Yeah.
What I tell my sales associates, and some of them get it, some of them don't, is that my job is simply to support your business. Use my tools, come on in, you will pay a price for that. Mm-hmm. Is it too much that they're independent? I do believe that when I started, it was all about the broker.
Yeah.
The broker, the brand, the broker, the tools. They ran all the ads, and you. But now that's changed, and we've allowed that to do it. When brokers opine about their change in the business, like, you gave it away. You started paying people 90% and not giving them enough stuff, but. In reality, technology has created options for the agents, and I think it's a good thing. All I can do as a broker is give a set of support systems and a good name and recognition that will augment their business. Are they too independent? I applaud the independence and the entrepreneurship of this business. Now, when I say that, the truth is that at some point that has its attrition factor. Most small businesses in the United States fail. Most realtors fail. The average time on is 18 months. Mm-hmm. The average age of a broker is 57. One of the reasons for that is because it takes a long time to get there. The average it's a second career for many people. So I always say, the reality is that this business is going to thrive because here's another thing I'll tell you about this, and it's sort of, people always say this new model over here, everybody will be working for Alphabet Realty or whoever, right? And I had this conversation. I go, well, if you look at the MLS, if you look at the rosters of most board of realtors, local board of realtors, most agents work for an independent. Mm-hmm. Now there's big offices with 200, but there's 400 agents working for 3 of them here and 4 of them here. Why is that? It's because they get a certain level of support that they get there, and they don't need what the big house is giving, or they don't want to pay that. So I always say that we are always going to have an industry of entrepreneurs as long as the model that the DRE allows of independent contractors and getting paid 1099 and creating their own business is allowed. We will always have a strong, independent-driven people. And I think it's great. Today, there are more minorities coming into this, people they would looked at as a minority. Frankly, look at the Hispanic community, which brings the values of family, hard work, and entrepreneurship. They did that. So these are going to be the future, and I don't think that that it's a bad thing for the industry. We just have to make sure, going back to, that we create a industry that regulates and promotes the ethical treatment for the public, the agents, and our clients. Yeah.
Well, Doug, a lot of the people that watch my podcast are brand new agents who are struggling to get some deals. So why don't you finish off? What's 1 or 2 things, advice you can give someone who is new in the industry that they can get a deal in the next 90 days?
Well, I'm going to give you one that people will say, I can't do that. Yeah. But the first thing is, if you've grown up in a local area or some places, the first thing is we spend way too much money trying to do business with strangers. Mm-hmm. The first thing is get your sphere of influence together, get a strong CRM, and I don't care if that is a index cards or it's a top producer and spend thousands of it, or it's Excel. Put that in there and start building relationships. If you want to do business quickly, then that you can do that. You should be able to get, if your sphere, and I don't care if that's 50 people or 100 people, you should, and that is your goal, by the way, is over the, when I sold all those houses to veterans in the early 80s, I lived through the 90s on those people that then sold and moved up. I had a 600-piece database, which I've now whittled down to 100. I mailed to about 125 people that I mail, I email, and then I write a personal note to. Not all 150 of them every month, but I write personal notes to. So it's that sphere of influence. That's the first thing. Build that and go after it don't be a secret agent. Make people know that you're there, whether it's social media. And don't make the mistake that social media everybody knows you are in real estate when you're in social media. The problem is that many of your sphere is not going to be in that, or that the way the social media works, they're not going to get it out to them.
They just don't even see it. Yep.
They're never going to see it, even if you think you're your friends, because all your friends don't see it. A personal knock, knock, knock on the door, a personal thing. If you're not, and you always kid me about my about always being logoed or always being
name tag. He walked in my office with a name tag.
I did, and I only took it off because I didn't want to brand it, but I didn't want to be branded. But always, if you're not branding, and so that's the social.
I can't judge you. I'm wearing my company hat right now, so you know what I mean.
As you should be.
Yeah.
And you should be proud of that, and never and always be proud of high standards and promote it. But the truth is that we think that most people have a realtor or know somebody with these 200,000. They don't.
Yeah.
It constantly surprises me that I'm the only one going in on a listing appointment. I'm the only one. And if you think you're competing against all these other agents, you're not. I mean, I remember when I was farming real hard, there was 3 or 4 guys that we'd go in. I'd pass them coming in doing listing presentations. That doesn't happen today.
No.
And it's not just me. It's all new people. If you can get in the front door. So the sphere of influence is huge. Build that. But one letter every 60 days is not it. You need to build a relationship. They need to know that you're in the business and you're ready, willing, and able. And so that's for the people that can do that. Now, for somebody that's brand new, now people do come in. I have a kid the other day came in and he said, I just moved back from Arizona. I don't know anybody here. I'm living with my sister. I only came here because I could live here for free and but I got my real estate. I want to do this. And I said, okay. Frankly, I looked at me and I said, what are you willing to do? And he says, anything. And I said, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We are going to the following. We're going to get you involved in something. And we are going to get you on the phone, and we're going to up your, all the things that you do. But you need to up your exposure level immediately. Mm-hmm. Now that doesn't, it's not even earth-shattering what I'm telling you, but the fundamentals apply. I will say that if you do sphere of influence, and then you go after the strangers, that I call them, you will get business. I will tell you that if you knocked enough doors today in almost any area, and there's areas here that people say, oh, this agent owns it.
He owns it, yeah.
Yeah, no, there's people that if you walk down the door and say, what's the top agent, and there's an agent, and they have a listing next door, they couldn't tell you who the top is. So I'm telling you, if you knock on doors and make it, I can't tell you. It's between 100 and 250 doors that you'll at least have some kind of lead. Mm-hmm. I have agents that go out and knock, and on their 127th door, they got a listing. They didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
But I would push sphere of influence, and then I do the fundamentals of knocking, walking, and that. I will say that do the social media at whatever level you can. If you can shoot a video handheld in front of a house, and that's all you can do, then you should do it, because it gives you a library of things that you can show and tell and get out. I don't know that, like what I said, this is earth-shattering, but it is real. The fundamentals apply, and if you do it, you will. Now, I will tell you the final piece of it is, it has to, just like the old airplane analogy, you have to do it immediately, you have to do it intensely, and maybe you can cruise in 9 months. But in the first 30 to 60 days, you better be knocking those doors, mailing out, calling, going to the baseball fields, going, if you're married, call every one of your wife's friends, give your wife or husband 17 cards. If you're in a church, don't be afraid, talk to the pastor and say, here's one of the things about church. By the way, I made a very big inroad in our church. And people say, oh, I'm afraid to order the church. And I said, really? So you're afraid to go to ask people to do business with somebody that believes in the same thing you believe, that has the same values, and you'll go out and hire a stranger.
Randos instead of the people that know you.
Right. And I go. So I encourage people to be involved in their community. Now, is that easy? No. Was it hard for me to knock doors? Yeah, it was really hard. Was it hard to make calls? It still is. I don't like making calls.
Yeah.
I make calls. You have to do the passive, the long term, along with the short term. And I know this is a longer answer than
That's
probably,
right.
But the reality is that hit the sphere of influence, get a system, and then and then do the fundamentals for 60, 90 days and see what happens.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that and sustain that for 90 days, then you're probably not going to make it in the business.
Well, Doug, every time I sit down and talk to you, I learn so much, and I really can't thank you enough for coming by, man. It was an honor, and I appreciate your time.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Adam.
Until next time, guys. Peace.